Welcome to Bobby Does Recaps. This is The Institute, Season 1. Stephen King finally pulls his most vicious, soul-destroying psychic kid's nightmare out of the drawer and hands it to MGM Plus, and they go full throttle. The show opens up with Luke Ellis, 14-year-old genius, crushing tests, planning MIT, and unknowingly using telekinesis to knock a pan off the table at a restaurant, laughing it off as Butterfingers. That night, some kind of black ops team breaks in and abducts him. Luke wakes up in a perfect replica of his bedroom, except the window is fake and the door is locked from the outside. First face he sees is Kalisha. She lays out the situation. Every kid here has TK, telekinesis, or TP, telepathy. They are in the front half where the kids are meant to develop whichever of the two powers they don't possess. Once they have TK and TP, they are sent to back half. Miss Sigsby, the boss, greets Luke with soda, jelly beans, and a cold, frozen smile while saying, "You're here to help us save the world, Luke." After that, sadistic orderly Tony staples a tracking chip onto his earlobe like he's tagging cattle. In the cafeteria, Luke meets the rest of the crew: sweet optimist George, tough Iris, and angry Nikki. George does a little TK trick with water just to prove it's all real. Meanwhile, down in DuPray, South Carolina, Tim Jamieson, fresh off quitting Boston PD after a shooting that broke him, hitchhikes until the road ends and takes the most overqualified job ever: night knocker, an unarmed guy that patrols the small town at night. He meets Chief Ashworth, flirts a bit with Deputy Wendy, and keeps bumping into conspiracy lady Annie, who lives in a back alley tent and drops lines like, "There are things in this world that you would not believe," and somehow knows way more about Tim's past than seems possible. Inside the Institute, Iris gets her graduation to back half. They have cake, but this isn't a party. They know she's not coming back. No one ever does. Luke gets his first real tests. Dr. Hendricks, pumping him full of shots that appear painful, make his vision distort, and eventually make him puke. Later, Luke and Nikki start talking escape, eyeing Maureen as the only adult who might crack. Then Avery Dixon arrives, a tiny, sobbing 10-year-old. Kalisha feels his power immediately. This kid is a telepathic nuke. Back in DuPray, armed robbers hit a gas station and shoot the owner. Tim arrives at the scene as the robbers are fleeing and saves the owner while coaching Deputy Drew through the crisis. The next day, he runs into Annie again. This time, she's ranting, saying nobody's safe. Back at the Institute, Avery's power is insane, reads minds like subtitles, and he can even see through guard dog's eyes. Luke knows now he's the ticket out. Kalisha gets her graduation notice and is taken to back half. Avery tries to hold a mind connection to her, but loses it the second she crosses into back half. Luke hides his growing TP powers to stay in front half, and he starts working on turning Maureen to their side. Back in DuPray, Tim runs into Annie again. This time she talks about a future plane crash where telepathy will be used to make the pilot crash the plane. This premonition does end up coming true, leading Tim to start believing. She also warns him to stay away from Route 10, but later that night, Tim finds her dead. Staged overdose. She's been sober 20 years. Back inside the walls, Avery and Luke are able to project themselves to Kalisha in back half. They see the nightmare, flickering screens, buzzing frying brains, kids turned into drooling shells. Luke continues to pressure Maureen into helping them, but Tony finds him and takes him to the tank, a machine that simulates drowning. Tony and Hendricks believe Luke is hiding his TP powers and want to torture it out of him, but Luke holds strong. Back in town, Tim is in full detective mode, tells Wendy about Annie's murder and the senator's plane crash she predicted. Wendy digs up old drowning cases possibly tied to the Institute. Tim finds Annie's hidden map pointing to the red steps, borrows Wendy's car, and heads out to investigate. At the Institute, we see movie night in back half, aka TP Assassination. The hive mind of kids, with Iris as the conductor, are instructed to force a Russian doctor to lethally eject a patient. Afterward, Iris collapses and gets carted to the crematorium, where they dispose of used-up kids. Maureen finally breaks completely, hands Luke a flash drive with proof to take the Institute down, directions to the red steps, her keycard, and a pair of scissors to remove his tracking chip. Luke painfully removes the tracker from his ear, plants it under a pillow, navigates past security, makes it outside, digs a hole under the fence, and escapes. The Institute goes on full lockdown when they find out Luke's tracker is under his pillow. Sigsby sends every resource to hunt him down. Maureen gets stopped by security on her way out. Sigsby wants to have a chat about Luke's escape. Knowing the consequences for helping Luke, she decides to end it herself so they won't be able to get any information out of her. Luke finally makes it to the red steps, right as Tim arrives. At first, he doesn't trust Tim, but after a run-in with an Institute goon and Luke TKing a branch onto that goon, trust is established. Together, they head to the police station, flash drive in hand. Chief Ashworth watches the video on the flash drive. He's horrified. Says, "I'm taking you two to the Portland police." But Deputy Drew shoots him twice in the back. Yup, the dorky deputy is in on it. Drew then cuffs them to a bench. While he's disposing of the chief's body, Luke TK grabs a paperclip. Tim picks the locks. They bust out and hide with the convenience store owner whose life Tim saved. He hands a shotgun to Tim. No questions asked. Back at the Institute, Avery's in the drowning tank, but he shatters it with TK power. Stackhouse and Hendricks send Avery to back half immediately to be the new conductor. Meanwhile, Tim and Luke are holed up at Wendy's. Sigsby arrives with Drew and there's a standoff. Tim takes a bullet to the shoulder but drops Drew. Sigsby, now cornered, states the Institute's purpose. Precognitive people identify world-ending future threats. Then the back half assassinates them, stopping nuclear wars, genocides, pandemics, etc. Tim and Luke look at her in stunned silence. Avery, now hooked up to the hive mind as the conductor, psychically connects with Luke, and together they take control of not only the Institute's hive mind, but other hive minds in institutes all over the world. Now, in complete control, the kids force Tony to stuff his taser down his throat. Hendricks puts the Institute on full lockdown. Meanwhile, at the front gate, Tim and Wendy provide a distraction while Luke sneaks back into the Institute and meets up with the rest of the kids. Together, they start ripping the building apart from the inside out, cracking walls and floors. Luke, Nikki, Kalisha, and George flee, but Avery says he must stay behind. He's the only one that can keep the psychic connection going. Now outside, Luke channels everything and completely lifts the Institute off the ground and slams it back down. Right after Tim and Wendy meet up with the crew and escape, but Miss Sigsby manages to escape as well, hitchhiking out of town. And that's where the Institute Season 1 comes to an end. If you enjoyed this recap, please do us a solid, hit that like button and subscribe for more of the best recaps.